The Psychology of the King. How to think with power and purpose. Carl Jung, you are losing the game, yet you haven't even realized you're part of it. Life is a chess match, but not one played elegantly on polished tables, accompanied by wine and poised glances. Your game is played in silence, in the dark, with pieces you don't understand, making choices shaped by fear rather than strategy. And the most troubling part, you don't even know your role on this board. Are you the pawn, the queen, the spectator? No, you are the king. But you've become so focused on projecting strength, intelligence, and charisma that you've forgotten the one thing that matters most. Your purpose is not to conquer, but to survive. Your role is to exist with intent, to protect what is vital. Your mission is not about endless forward movement, mindlessly advancing without direction. It's about standing firm in the face of uncertainty and keeping watch over what you must defend. Yet you continue to move recklessly, as if the path forward holds all the answers. Listen carefully. The king doesn't need to make unnecessary moves to be powerful. He simply needs to know who he is. But you've forgotten who you are. Every day you wake up trying to prove something, to someone, to everyone. You try to control the game, but you haven't even mastered your own mind, I repeat. You are the king, not because of your strength, not because of your speed. You are the king because without you, the game collapses. Yet, you've allowed your value to rest in the hands of fleeting pieces, things that will come and go. Do you really think success lies in controlling everything? Being everywhere, having all the answers? That's not strategy. That's noise. True strategy begins in silence. It's the wisdom to know when to stay still. It's realizing that not everything that glitters on the board is worth your attention. You've lived too long believing that outward strength makes you invulnerable. But tell me, how invulnerable can you be if you cannot protect your inner peace? How far can you go if you don't even know what you truly desire? The problem isn't the lack of success, it's the absence of direction. Because without knowing what you're protecting, you'll be distracted by everything that doesn't matter. Do you know what a true player does? They don't start by focusing on the opponent. They start by understanding their own king. They know their position, their limits, what's truly at stake. Because if you don't understand yourself, you won't even realize when you're losing. Here's the question you should have asked yourself long ago. What are you defending? Don't tell me it's your job, your image, or your reputation. That's just smoke and mirrors. What really matters is unseen. The health of your mind, the stability of your emotions, the clarity of your values, the depth of your purpose. That's where your strength lies. That's what cannot fall. When those things crumble, everything else is meaningless. But you hide it, you bury it under superficial goals and external validation, as if success is defined by applause and admiration, as if the recognition of others could give you peace. The truth is, the world can cheer for you while you're falling apart inside. What use is a powerful queen if the king is crumbling? You've played this game as if you were untouchable, as if pain didn't exist, moving forward like a rook in straight lines, never questioning. But you're not invincible. You're the king. And the king moves deliberately. The king observes. The king protects himself. He doesn't win by attacking. He wins by withstanding. He wins by knowing when to advance and when to remain still. Because a king who rushes into action without thought will surely fall. Do you see it now? Every time you betray yourself to fit in, it's as if you're placing your king into a vulnerable position. Every time you prioritize what others think over your own feelings, you leave your soul unguarded. Every time you choose to pretend instead of feel, you lose a piece of essential peace. And still, you wonder why peace eludes you. The answer is simple. You've built walls on the outside but left your inner world in ruins. You've obsessed over external strategy and forgotten the most crucial truth. The real battle is fought within. You don't need to control others. You need to understand what you are willing to protect and what you are not. And that begins with self-knowledge, because only someone who understands themselves can craft a strategy that will not destroy them. Only someone who knows their worth can protect the essential without confusing it with the secondary. Those who don't know their value end up sacrificing everything for nothing. And here's the painful truth. You often do it with a smile. How long will you continue sacrificing your principles to belong? How long will you disguise anxiety as ambition? How long will you call success the constant noise that steals your peace? This isn't about winning. It's about holding on to what holds you. It's about preserving the core of who you are, even when everything around you crumbles. Because if you lose the king, the game ends. No one tells you this brutal truth. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one standing before you. It's the one you've allowed within. Your unfiltered thoughts, your misunderstood emotions, your unhealed wounds. The internal noise that sabotages you when you're on the brink of progress. That inner saboteur doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you you're not ready, it tells you you'll fail, it urges you to stay where you are. And you listen because it feels familiar. You've been hearing it for so long, you believe it's your voice. But it's not. You're the one who hears it. And if you can hear it, you can change the message. True leadership doesn't begin when you lead others. It begins when you lead yourself, when you master your own mind, when you silence the voices of fear, when you act with clarity even amidst chaos. Because chaos doesn't disappear, it never does. What changes is your ability to navigate it, and that begins from within. The world admires those who win, but it reveres those who endure without losing themselves. Because success without peace is just noise, a shout that echoes, a crown too heavy to bear. The real question is, do you want to win, or do you want to endure without betraying yourself? Only one will grant you true freedom. And no, this isn't about invulnerability. It's about knowing your weaknesses and protecting them. It's about acknowledging that you're not immune to pain, but you can remain strong in the face of it. It's about building a shield, not made of pride or arrogance, but of unwavering principles, clarity, and purpose. Because when you know what you're defending, you won't be swayed by the first attack. Here's the irony. The more you understand yourself, the less you need to prove. The clearer your center, the less external chaos will disturb you. The more you protect your king, the less concerned you'll be with the battle. True power isn't seen, it's felt. It's the calm of those who don't need to shout. It's the silence that unnerves those who live in noise. It's the steady gaze that says, I know who I am, and I won't move without reason. So ask yourself, when was the last time you sat with yourself and honestly asked, what is it that I truly want to protect? Until you answer that truthfully, you will continue to move by reflex, not strategy. And those who move by reflex always lose. The real game isn't won by those who advance the most, but by those who know what they will never give up. Do you know what you'll never relinquish? Because if you don't, every offer will appear enticing. Every voice will seem wise. Every defeat will seem final, and they're not. Failure doesn't define you. What defines you is what you choose to protect, even when everything else seems to be at stake. Protect your mental health, your emotional stability, your integrity, your purpose. That's not selfishness. That's strategy, that's leadership, that's maturity. The king who survives isn't the fastest nor the most visible. He's the most conscious. The one who doesn't sacrifice the essential for the urgent. the one who doesn't trade their peace for applause, the one who doesn't chase recognition because they know their value doesn't depend on being seen. And here's the last painful truth. If you don't protect your king, no one will do it for you. You are the center. And if you fall, it doesn't matter how many pieces remain on the board. The game simply ends. So start today, not with big moves, not with radical decisions. Start with one simple step. Recognize yourself. Look at yourself. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, what am I neglecting that I should be protecting? Because when you know, you won't play by inertia, you'll play with intention. And at that moment, even if you take just one step, you'll have won more than many who move aimlessly. Real victory isn't about winning the game. It's about not losing yourself. And do you know what the most common mistake of those who lose this game without even realizing it is? They think protecting what's essential means closing themselves off, that taking care of their inner kingdom is about building walls, that self-knowledge is an act of defense, when in reality it's an act of power. I'll tell you something that few understand. Self-knowledge doesn't make you fragile, it makes you dangerous. Because when you know what you're willing to lose, when you have clarity about who you are and what you'll never allow, you become unpredictable to a world that thrives on manipulating those who have no roots. Look around you. Look closely. Most people act from fear, from lack, from that constant feeling that they're missing something. And what does that do? It makes them easy to control. If you touch their ego, they collapse. If you deny them approval, they kneel. If you offer them validation, they sell out. But there's one kind of person who doesn't play by those rules, the one who's done the inner work, the one who's visited their shadows and made peace with them. You can't dominate that person. You can't convince them with applause nor threaten them with rejection, because they've lived it all inside. Because they don't need to belong, they already belong to themselves. And this is the new topic I want to talk to you about. The brutal difference between the one who seeks power and the one who seeks clarity. The first is a slave to their hunger. The second is free in their purpose. Do you realize? Everyone wants power. Economic power, power of influence, power over others. But real power isn't external, it's not accumulative, it's internal. And the most messed up part, it's not obvious. True power doesn't make noise, doesn't demand attention. It's the power to look at your life head on and say, this is who I am. This is my worth. This is what I won't negotiate. It's the power of not needing to shout how strong you are, because your consistency proves it without words. Now, what feeds that inner power? Clarity, not clarity that can't be bought or inherited. It's built, it's cultivated, it's bled for. Because having clarity isn't about knowing what you want when everything's going well. It's about holding on to it when everything falls apart. It's about facing the storm and saying, this doesn't change me. It's about seeing everyone run and you choosing not to move, not because you're slow, but because you already know where you are and where you're going. And that, my friend, terrifies those who are still lost. Clarity is a weapon, one that discomforts, because in a world where everyone doubts everything, the one who walks with conviction shines like a threat, because it reminds others that yes, it's possible to have direction. Yes, it's possible to have a purpose. Yes, it's possible to live with meaning if you're willing to stop living for others. But no one tells you this, because if you knew, you would stop being manipulable. You'd stop buying what you don't need, working on what you hate, tolerating what kills you inside. That's why this society rewards the obedient and punishes the lucid. Because the obedient are pieces, the lucid are kings. And this is where we return to the board. The king who lacks clarity is a pawn in disguise. He thinks he commands, but he moves by reflex. He panics when he loses a rook. He sinks when a queen falls, because his center isn't within himself, but in what surrounds him. But the king who has clarity can be alone on the board, surrounded by silence and enemies, and still play with intention. And watch out for this. Clarity isn't arrogance. It's not thinking you know everything. It's having enough humility to accept what you don't know, and the intelligence to not act from there. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move forward and when to wait, when to give it all and when to step back, to preserve what you can't afford to lose. Self-knowledge isn't just about knowing yourself. It's also about knowing your limits, your blind spots, your obsessions, your wounds. Because if you don't see them, others will use them against you. If you don't know where it hurts, anyone can press right there. But if you know, if you recognize it, if you work on it, then they no longer control you. Then you no longer react. You choose, and that's the new level of the game, the one for those who choose, because there are two types of people in life, those who react and those who decide. Those who live at the mercy of the board and those who choose their next move. And only the latter lead, not others themselves. Here's a burning truth. If you don't decide your life, others will decide it for you, and not with bad intentions, necessarily, simply because there's empty space, and empty space always gets filled. If you don't fill your life with purpose, the world will fill it with noise, with consumption, with comparisons, with expectations, and you, without realizing it, will be living a borrowed life. A life that sounds good, but isn't yours. And what's the point of winning a game with rules you didn't write? That's not victory, that's decorated slavery. It's success with a taste of defeat. And the worst part, you don't even realize it until it's too late. Until you wake up one day, look at your reflection, and don't know who you are or why you do what you do. And that moment, that instant, is the true checkmate. Because there's no move that can save you if you've lost touch with what's essential. And that's where balance comes in. Another forgotten pillar of internal leadership. Because it's not enough to know yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And I'm not talking about spas or days off. I'm talking about protecting your center, nurturing your mind, feeding your values, silencing what doesn't add up, filtering what enters your head. Because the mind, my friend, is fertile land, and whatever you plant there will grow. What are you planting? Clarity or noise? Because if you spend the day consuming what distracts you, listening to what scares you, comparing yourself to fake lives, what do you expect to grow inside you? Peace won't, purpose even less. And that's when everything starts to rot. First in the invisible, then in the evident. Until one day the board looks good from the outside, but you know you've already lost the game inside. And that's the saddest part. Because the outside can be rebuilt. But when your inner kingdom is in ruins, there's no game to play anymore. When the king falls within, everything else is just decoration. That's why I'll say it again. Take care of your center, your mind, your balance, your purpose. Not because you're fragile, but because you're essential. If you lose yourself, everything else loses meaning. And if you still have doubts, ask yourself this one last question. How many decisions in your life have come from fear? And how many have come from clarity? The answer will show you whether you're playing the game or just moving pieces around. If you've made it this far, if you've listened to every word without turning away, it means something. It means that deep down in some corner of your mind, there's a voice telling you, this is for me. It's no coincidence. It's your consciousness calling you to wake up. You've reached a key moment, a tipping point. You're at the crossroads, between continuing to live a borrowed life or finally taking control of the game. But wait, don't rush off yet, because the most powerful part comes now. Have you ever felt like you're moving forward but without direction? Like every achievement feels less satisfying? Like every victory is just a band-aid, but it never quite covers the emptiness? It's not that you're wrong. It's that you're disconnected. When you don't know what you're truly defending, everything feels irrelevant. And that, my friend, kills you slowly. The soul doesn't die in an instant. It dies from what? It dies from living day after day without purpose. It dies from prioritizing the urgent over the essential. And here's the most ironic part. You probably already have everything you need within you to change it. You've felt it. You've known it, but there's fear. Fear of making it real. Fear that once you act, there's no turning back. And you know what? That's true. There's no going back once you start living with clarity. You can't settle for less. And that scares you. But it's also freedom. Real, beautiful freedom. The kind of freedom that only those who dare to look within and say, "This is who I am and I will never betray it," truly experience. So here's the last question. The one you can't ignore. Are you going to keep moving without thinking, or are you finally going to start playing for real? Look, this isn't about hyping you up with epic music or telling you that you can achieve everything. It's about facing yourself. It's about having the courage to stand firm. It's about building yourself from the inside out, brick by brick, principle by principle. It's about learning to say no to the things that seem good, but pull you away from your truth. It's about walking with intention, even when everyone else is running aimlessly. And if you understand this, if it really sinks in, the board will no longer intimidate you, because you'll stop playing to please. You'll stop making moves out of fear. You'll stop sacrificing your king just to win approval. You'll play to protect what matters. You'll play with consciousness, and that makes you untouchable, unstoppable. So don't tell me you can't. Don't tell me it's too late. What you need isn't more time. What you need is to make a decision. Do one thing today, protect your center. Even if it's a small decision, even if no one notices, even if it seems insignificant, because that's what truly matters, holding your inner kingdom. Before you go, I want to challenge you. Head to the comments and type this phrase, "My king doesn't give up." It's your way of saying, "I've understood the message and I'm ready to play for real." Subscribe if any part of this video hit you like a silent shot. If a single phrase made you pause and think, "This is what I needed to hear." Because here we're not here to entertain you. We're here to wake you up, and trust me, this is just the beginning. From now on, every move you make will be different. You won't just move for the sake of moving. You'll move with intention. And that's what sets you apart from the crowd. So go ahead. Take the first step.